What is new?
So Hayes and I just announced Hey, Unfiltered Waters family, I am here to tell you a little bit more about one of Dream Recovery's newest products. It is their Dream Tape Plus. First off, new packaging. Look at it. It's gorgeous. But as you guys have heard us talk about, mouth tape is so beneficial. It promotes better sleep. It'll help you stop snoring. It improves your nasal breathing. And with Dream Tape Plus, these tape strips are vitamin and mineral infused. So it delivers even more benefits than just the regular Dream Tape. Dream Tape Plus is infused with collagen, vitamin E, and aloe vera extract, so it feels so good to put on, and it's really easy to take off in the morning. And now you're getting all the same benefits of regular Dream Tape, plus the benefits of skincare and anti-aging with Dream Tape Plus. You guys have to go check this out. Make sure that you use code UNFILTERED for 30% off your entire order, and you can also use it for 50% off your first month subscription of Dream Tape or Dream Tape Plus. Happy sleeping.
Missy Franklin, welcome to Unfiltered Waters.
Thank you so much for having me. It is such an honor to be here.
Thank you for flying in and traveling. And
absolutely. The studio. Wow.
Thank you so
love
much.
what you've done with the place.
All right. So let me preface this. So everyone, we decided that obviously we love our solo episodes. They're so fun, but we also thought, why not actually interview each other? Who better to interview each other than us, because we know each other so well. We can bring out the best in each other, and things have been happening in your world.
Things have been happening. There's been a lot of stuff happening.
What is new?
So Hayes and I just announced we are pregnant with our second baby girl. So I'm due in March. And as you know, but for everyone else, it has been a wild ride. We found out a week before Paris that we were pregnant, and the whole thing, I mean, God's timing is just so perfect, but it was quite funny because this pregnancy has been a lot harder than Caitlin's was. And so it was just, Paris was one of the hardest 2 weeks of my life. Like, I was so sick. I was so tired. And we were working from like 6 a.m. to midnight. Like, it was just nonstop. Yeah. So it was so funny, right? Like, we got back and everyone was like, how was Paris? And I was just like, it's good.
You're like, it was good. A little tiring, but good.
It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, it's funny. Can I tell you how we were supposed to go on a little walk run, get our wits together, hype ourselves up, be excited for Paris the day before. And I had something pop up, and you were like, okay. And like, your reaction was weird. And I was like, I have stuff. I'm sorry. I can't.
You're my best friend. Can you please understand what's going on in my life?
Understand what's happening. I'm packing for 17 days. And it's funny because then you FaceTimed me with this little cute onesie. What did the onesie say?
It was Big Sister in French.
Yes, it was big. And I cannot read French. So I had the worst possible reaction, which I still feel bad about. You're like, you hold up the onesie. And I was like, that's cute for Kate. Like, it seems like it's going to be too small for Kate, but like cute. And then I was like, what did it say? And you were like, Big Sister. And then obviously so excited.
Then the perfect reaction came.
But yes, so incredibly excited for you. It's going to be so much fun.
We're so happy.
So happy.
Dream come true.
And I have chills all over my body. And I think part of why I wanted to interview you, because I feel like, for people who don't know, Todd and I are hoping to have one of our own one day very soon. And so you have just been a wealth of knowledge and experience and perspective. And so I feel like women don't, one, get the opportunity to talk about getting pregnant, being pregnant, the aftermath, getting pregnant again, like all of those things that I think so many women, and for those of you who are men and are not going to get pregnant, but have women in your life, the girlfriends, wives, like, this is also a podcast to hear how you can support them and how you can make sure that you're there for them in the ups and the downs and the roller coaster. That just hearing from you and other friends that pregnancy and then having a new baby truly is.
Yeah.
And so
even just friends too.
Friends,
like
exactly.
I remember that, like, especially when we were pregnant with Kate, I was pretty young and a lot of my other friends weren't at that stage in their life yet. And I actually remember like how grateful I was for the friends that came to me that were like, to be totally honest with you, I have no idea what you need or how to support you. So like, you need to tell me. Like, and I was so grateful because I totally understood that. Like, until you go through it, there's just certain things that you're like, oh, maybe I should really just ask, like, what is the best way? Because I haven't been through this and I'm not sure, and I might have some idea, but it is just so nice to have the people that are like, I don't know what you need, so tell me.
Don't assume, don't try to act like you're an expert. Just be like, I feel like how many times have I said to you, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Tell me what to say. Tell me how to be there for you. So I want to start back way before you even had Kate, because I think a lot of people don't really know probably your relationship with wanting to have a family, like how early you wanted that. And so I want to start there and then lead into Kate and getting pregnant and your first time being pregnant ever, because I know there was so much that went into that.
It's so much. Yes. I mean, to really, really take it back. We talked about this in our book that my parents and I wrote together. And I was so proud of them for wanting to talk about this and be open about it. Because again, I think just sharing our stories is so important. And so I was born via surrogacy. So my parents were much older when they had me. And they had been married for 24 years before they had me, which is just absolutely incredible that they had like truly lived so much of their lives. And I credit so much of our relationship to the timing of when I was born, because they had done a lot in their careers. They had felt very accomplished. They knew who they were as people. They knew who they were in their marriage. And so when I came along, it truly was the three of us. And like, they were able to dedicate so much time and energy to me. And I think just when I look back on my childhood, like it was the three of us all the time. Like that's all that I remember. And I'm so grateful for that. But I think with that, as I've gotten older, as I've talked to my mom more, as I've talked to my birth mom about it, because I still talk to my birth mom, I understand what an unbelievable sacrifice that is for a woman to carry another couple's child for 10 months, deliver it, and then give quite literally the gift of life to another family. Like I'm so in awe of that. And I'm so grateful that this amazing woman decided to give my parents that gift and give me life. But I think because of that and growing up knowing that, I've always had this idea in my head of like being able to get pregnant isn't a right of it's a privilege. Like truly a privilege. And I think sometimes that's just something we need to talk about more, so that there is no shame. There's no embarrassment. There's no discouragement about women that are struggling to get pregnant or that want that, because that happens. Like it's not as easy as that. And so when we got pregnant naturally with Kate and I saw the pregnant on the pregnancy test, I was just so emotional, because the first thing I thought of was this was something that my own mother never got to see. And I just feel like I had this immense amount of gratitude and understanding of just how beautiful that was, and that my body had the ability to do this. So I think when I with both pregnancies, no matter what they've been like, there's this root and foundation of like, I am so thankful. Like, and of course, still validating that it can be really hard. Pregnancy comes with a whole bunch of stuff. But just bottom line, just being so grateful that I get to do this, and I have this amazing opportunity. But because of all of that, I've just wanted to be pregnant. I wanted to be a mom, like more than anything, my whole life. So when we first got pregnant with Caitlin, it was just like, I can't believe this is here and this is actually happening.
Which is such a gift, because I feel like, I know I didn't have that perspective so early on because of your experience, because of the knowledge that you knew it wasn't easy for your mom. It wasn't going to happen for your mom. Like that, I hope that I can take some of that. Well, I now do, because it's not been easy for us. But I think there's so many women where you go into like, okay, now we're going to have a baby and like, okay, I'd like to have it on this day. Like you don't know until you're in it. You just don't know until you're in it.
And it's so funny too, because we spend, right, like the majority of
being like, dear God, no.
And then when you actually want to, you're like, wait, this is actually really hard.
So hard.
Yeah.
I want to hear. So when did your mom tell you?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. So they were always open about it. Always open about it. So I think I was actually quite young when they told me. And my birth mother was a part, like she didn't live in the same state. So we did not see her often. But I remember when she came and visited, she had 2 children of her own.
Wow.
They all came. And so I definitely remember like this understanding. But it was pretty special because I think even from that young age, I understood like even though my mom didn't physically carry me and birth me, she's my mom. Yeah. Right? Like she will always, like, that is my mother. And then this unbelievable woman just like gave her the chance to be a mom. But so I think as I got older, as I kind of talked about, I just have gotten this better understanding. And I think it was probably my senior year in high school, actually, where I asked her to a little bit more like detail and like, can we talk about this more? How did this all happen? How did you find her? And she pulled out like the box. And it was, they first heard about surrogacy. It was a People magazine cover about a famous celebrity at the time, which right back then
that wasn't like a thing.
No. And that was how they kind of started talking about it. And then just like I saw pictures of my birth mother pregnant with me for the first time and just things like that made it like so real and emotional. And then again, now as I've gotten pregnant and grown our family, just I kind of continually reach out to her and just say like, thank you. Like literally like Caitlin wouldn't exist without her. This little baby wouldn't be coming without her. So it's amazing the ripple effects of people making such incredible sacrifices for others.
Yeah. And probably where you got a lot of your, the thing I always say I admire about you most, like you have such gratitude for life.
Yeah.
And it's probably where that came from.
Huge. Yeah. I think you're totally right. And there was definitely some times, being totally honest, where I had to work through it a little bit, because I think in high school, where I was, what we were learning about in terms of faith, I kind of was being taught that the way that I was born was not the way of God. And so
that's hard.
That was something that was really hard for me for a while, was like, did God intend for me to be here? And so that was, I would say, one of the hardest times of like working through that. And I just like continually took it back to him and was like having these conversations and just got to such a place of peace with him of like, I believe in my heart, no matter how I got here, it was God's intention for me to be here. But that it took a lot to kind of like work through that, especially when you're being told that as like a high school female. So that I would say was one of the harder things, having to work through that. But I think we're given those questions and those hard moments so that we turn closer to God and we have those conversations with him. I think sometimes people think when they like question their faith or they question certain things about God, it's showing a lack of faith, when I believe that's actually God giving us an opportunity to grow closer to him and like taking those things to him and being like, I don't understand why this happened, or what is the purpose in this? What is the good that can come out of this? Like, I'm having a hard time seeing it, and just being able to kind of still take it back to him, knowing you may not always get an answer, but it's just the communication that's the most important part.
For sure. And I mean, I can't even imagine that in high school. It's not like you can ask your friend about that, or it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it would probably feel very, like, thank God your parents are how they are, but it would probably feel very isolating to be like, well, who else went through this? Which I think is incredible why you speak on it. We had someone reach out to the podcast about it a couple of weeks ago. So I think being able to share that more, there's so many kids that are born this way, and it's incredible and it's a gift. And so I think that's incredible that you're open enough to share that, because not everyone would.
Well, I think we live in such a special time right now too, where so many people, so many families, women, but also men, talking about infertility issues and what they're experiencing and going through IVF and going through, just there's so many different ways to have a family.
Yeah.
And so I think it is so important for any family or any child listening. Like, I just believe in my heart that, like, for every child that is born, God intended you to be here and that you're so loved.
1,000%.
Yeah.
So let's go to the pregnancy test. I feel like I love the wife telling the husband about their pregnancy just as much as proposal stories. So walk us through, you see that you're pregnant. What happens next?
Yeah. So this was kind of right around when COVID hit. So we got married in 2019. And then
Best wedding ever.
It was so fun.
So fun.
Oh, it was the best night. Best day, best everything. But so I think we were maybe planning on waiting a little bit longer. We were going to do a honeymoon. We kind of just wanted to be married for a couple years. And then everything happened with COVID. And I think it just gave us this perspective of, like, you never know what is going to happen. And this was something that we both wanted so badly. So we were just kind of both like, why not now?
Yeah.
Like, why not now? So we got married in 2019 and then got pregnant in 2020. And I remember, I think it's so precious when wives, like, do this big surprise and reveal. Like, I remember my sister-in-law did, like, the cutest thing for my brother-in-law and had, like, a basket with, like, a dad hat in it and, like, all this.
It's like in the cake. And you're like, should you eat the cake? Because I think there's pee on that.
Like, wait a second. And then there's me, where we had just gotten back from Thanksgiving here in Nashville. We were still living in Denver. And I was a few days late. And I just kind of had this feeling. So I had woken up early that morning. It was like 5 a.m. And I took the pregnancy test. And Hayes was already up downstairs. So I was waiting upstairs for it. Showed up pregnant. And I don't know how I didn't absolutely, like, Kristen Faulkner style, fall down these stairs.
Great reference.
But I ran downstairs. Like, I was sobbing. Hayes was, like, just in the kitchen making coffee. And he just, like, turned and looked at me like, what is happening? And I'm just, like, shoving the positive pregnancy test in his, and I was like, you're going to be a dad. And he was like, shut up. And then we just sat there and, like, hugged for, like, 20 minutes. And then, there's, like, that moment ends. And then you're kind of like,
oh man,
wait, now what? Like, what do we do now? And I think that's so funny. Like, every woman that I talk to, that's always one of the hardest amounts of time is from when you take the pregnancy test and then you do some blood work to confirm it. But then you still have to wait a few weeks before you get your first, like, confirmation ultrasound. Yeah. And those weeks are just like, you literally are, like, walking around on eggshells. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, like, what do you, and you can't tell, like, did you tell your parents or anyone?
So I think kind of and this is different for everyone, so we totally support what people decide, and it's completely individual, but our way of thinking with both of these pregnancies has been, like, we wanted support during that time. Like, we wanted people to know. So our rule of thumb is that we told people who we knew we would also tell if, God forbid, anything happened. And we ended up having a miscarriage or losing the baby. And praise God, that hasn't happened either time. But that was kind of like, we're going to need support either way, like, no matter what happens. And so we definitely told our parents first. It was amazing telling my mom and dad because we had the confirmation ultrasound right before we went up to their house for Christmas.
That's like the dream.
I know. It was such perfect timing. And so my favorite Christmas tradition that we do in our family is, ever since I was probably, little, now that I remember, I have ornaments going back for forever. But my mom, we opened them on Christmas Eve, and she would make Christmas ornaments that were personalized to whatever major events happened in my life that year. And so our Christmas tree was literally my life growing up. Like, she got so creative with them. Like, when I made Shanghai for Worlds, she got me, like, a Chinese food takeout box and, like, would write, Worlds 2011 on it. For London, it was Big Ben. It was just, like, all these different things. When I met Prince Harry on my 18th birthday, she did, like, a little crown. Aww. Like, it's just, like, the cutest stuff. And so we made them an ornament that said Baby J coming in August of next year, and got to give it to them to open. And it was just, like, honestly, it one of the top moments of my life, getting to tell my parents that and knowing they were going to get to be grandparents, and again, knowing what they went through and becoming parents and all of that. But so that was just so special. Getting to tell Hayes' family was so special. So yeah, that's one of the most beautiful parts of pregnancy, is getting to share it.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. What helped you from your swimming career during pregnancy?
Oh, it's such a great question. Knowing the power of movement was huge. And knowing how to listen to my body. I was so, so grateful for that. And also the idea of delayed gratification.
Yeah.
Like it's a long process. Yeah. Pregnancy is for how many changes are happening, for how emotional you are, for all of it. Like that's a long amount of time to kind of be experiencing those ups and downs and to be having your body physically change. So I think I tried to stay as active in my pregnancy as possible. And I was so grateful to be able to do that, because I know that's not always the case. And honestly, that's kind of what I'm learning this time around. Like I was able to do whatever I want with Caitlin, and I'm already experiencing things now where I've really had to pull back and just like listen to my body, and it needs rest, and it needs a lot more than it did when I was pregnant with Caitlin. And then also that perspective of like, yep, this is kind of what I'm in right now. And every day, I know the days might seem long, but this time of pregnancy is actually going to go by really fast. And there's going to be a baby at the end. And that actually helped me get through labor so much of, so literally the same mantra that I had in the 200 back in London was what was going through my head.
Which is?
During labor, pain is temporary, but glorious forever.
It applies to both.
I was like, yep, this is temporary. Like as painful as this is, as hard as this is right now, I'm quite literally going to meet my baby on the other side of this. And I'm going to have this baby, God willing, again for the rest of my life. So there was so much that I took from it, which I was so grateful for. And then I think part of what I learned from my swimming career, but what I've learned since as well, is this idea of self-trust. So as my body changed, I try again to root myself in gratitude, but it can be hard. Yeah. Like it can be hard. And now having gone through it also, and knowing the process of not getting back to anything after you give birth, but to just get strong, to find what makes you feel good again, to find what makes you feel like you, that took a lot of time. It took a lot of time for me. For some women it doesn't, for some women it does. Like, and whatever your version might be different of what made you feel strong and good before pregnancy versus what makes you feel strong and good after pregnancy. But I really learned this idea of self-trust. I think that whatever that looks like, I'm going to get back there, no matter how much amount of time. So I think that helps me not stress as much about it when I'm in it and when I'm seeing all these changes, because I know and have that faith in myself that I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to take care of my family, and I'm going to take care of myself for my family.
Yeah. And it will happen.
Yeah.
Like it just will.
Exactly. True Niagen's mission is all about supporting healthy aging, enhancing cellular health, and improving overall vitality by increasing those NAD+ levels that naturally decline as we get older. So what is True Niagen and how does it help? True Niagen boosts and replenishes your NAD+. NAD+ is a vital coenzyme that is already found in every cell of your body. It plays a crucial role in cellular metabolism by helping turn food into cellular energy. So at the bottom line, True Niagen can enhance your health span and combat age-related diseases, unlocking the secrets to a healthier life. And of course, it's NSF certified for any listeners we have that are actively competing. We have a special code for our wonderful listeners. You guys can use code UnfilteredWaters at your checkout for 20% off. I'm so excited to get feedback from you guys on this. Katie and I have noticed a huge difference while using it, and we're so thankful for the wonderful sponsorship of True Niagen.
Any funny stories? Because Todd's already like, oh God, like you get emotional, like just without a baby. What's it going to be? So any stories that you're willing to share where you got like insanely emotional and Hayes was like, what is this person?
I have to be honest with Caitlin's pregnancy. No, because it truly was like, it was a symptomless pregnancy.
Every woman is like,
I know.
Cool.
Don't worry. I'm paying for it now. I'm paying for it now.
Same question now.
I think I'm just like, I'm very I'm very emotional with this one. Like, I get into bed at night and I almost cry every night, but it's happy to, like, I'm
okay,
just
that's
like,
good.
yeah, but I just like, I like look at Hayes and I'm just like sobbing and I'm like, I'm so happy. Like, I'm so thankful, and Caitlin is the best and you're the best and we're giving her such a good childhood and she's going to have a sister. Like, I just get,
He's like,
it's like, yeah, like,
cool.
yeah, we're doing great. Like, awesome, honey. And I'm currently 18 weeks and I am already acting like I am, 30 weeks pregnant.
And I feel like, I'm like, oh, is it like,
I'm
we
like
were talking about your
legit
sprinkle,
waddling.
and
I am
like,
waddling at 18 weeks, but I feel like I took a positive pregnancy test. And for any women that have been pregnant more than one time, the resounding answer has been that they feel the same way.
That's
but
good.
I feel like I took a positive pregnancy test and I was showing. And I
mean, you kind of were.
Yes.
Like in Paris, if you had not worn baggy stuff, like people
No.
would be like,
And I was legit like 5 weeks pregnant.
I know. I know. It was, I was like, I don't have much of a reference,
crazy.
but wow.
Like I'm so much bigger this time around. And again, my OB is totally normal. Like your body just knows what to do. So it just immediately adapts versus the first time. Like it takes some time. But so my pelvis pain has been super bad. I'm starting to get sciatic nerve pain. I think I'm going to have to start doing some therapy, which I didn't have to do with Kate. But so yeah, I'm literally like, I'm straight waddling. And Hayes was like, you literally never did that. And it was so cute. He goes, I love it. You're actually acting pregnant this time around.
That's cute.
I know.
That's super cute.
I busted out the pregnancy pillow at like 8 weeks. I was like, I have zero shame.
Yeah,
and
do what you gotta do.
I have like the massive one. It's like literally a third person in our bed. And I knew Hayes was like, here it comes.
Yeah.
I'm about to become second
You're
wheel.
like, bye.
Yeah, this is me and my pillow now.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think something that you have talked to me about a lot, and I think something that will resonate with people is after the pregnancy.
Yeah.
And, there's so many working moms, and, there's that balance of having this child that you love more than anything, having your separate identity away from that, and then having to leave that child to work and pursue your own career, which is a part of that self, but it just seems like there's a lot of blurred lines.
Yeah.
And I know that's something that you still continue to talk about and struggle with at times. So can you tell everyone about that? And then any advice that you continue to tell yourself moving forward?
Yeah. I think I'm actually going to start with the advice piece because I've just learned that it looks different for everyone.
Yeah.
And that is okay. And really falling back on that self-trust piece of I am doing what is best for my family. Mm-hmm. And that is going to be different. And so just prefacing with the fact that it's a privilege to have the choice on whether or not I want to work or be a stay-at-home mom. I know not all women have that choice, so I recognize that and I'm so appreciative of that. And then in the process of making that choice, I think, again, we were really lucky with Caitlin. So it's actually, to be honest, something I'm a little bit more nervous about with this one, because with Caitlin, she was born in 2021. So even though things were starting to get back to normal, they still weren't. So I really had like the first full, essentially 18 months of her life where I was traveling a little bit here and there, but doing still a lot of virtual work. Mm-hmm. So I was home for a good bit and just kind of recognizing that might be different with this one. And I might have opportunities to work sooner. And am I going to take those? What is that going to look like? So already sort of mentally preparing myself for maternity leave and then coming off of it and just kind of what that is going to look like with this one. But giving myself grace. And I think also just really appreciating the fact that I get to choose and how grateful I am for that. But I think what's been so important to me is being a mom and being a wife is my number one priority. Like that will always come first, no matter what. And I'm okay with that being a big part of my identity. Yeah. Like that's what I've wanted. And so for the stay-at-home moms that are like, I don't need this other thing. Like this is who I am. Like I totally relate to that. And I so feel that as well. And that's amazing. Like so incredible. then I also love some of the opportunities I get to do and the work that I get to do. And now, especially having not one, but soon to be 2 daughters.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I'm able to do things that promote women and women's sports and overall health of women and mental health. Like, I just feel like the work that I'm doing is truly going to benefit my girls one day.
100%.
Which is still like so crazy to say girls.
I know.
But
I was like, oh, plural.
I know.
It took me a second too.
And so like that's another piece of why I also love what I get to do. So even though it does take me away from her at times, I know it's actually the best thing for her and for me. And that's kind of how I gauge all the work that I do is like, is this going to have a positive impact on my daughter?
Yeah.
It's like, even with the podcast, it's like, that's something that like, yeah, absolutely. Like creating a space for 2 strong female voices to be heard, giving space to other athletes to talk about their lives, to empower them. Like I think about my girls listening to these interviews one day and like feeling the same thing we do at the end of our episodes of just like so in awe, so inspired, so empowered. So with all that being said, I absolutely still feel guilt, and leaving her is the hardest thing in the world. Hayes and I were just in Japan for 5 days, and it was so hard being away from her. And I'm so proud of her because she just adapts so well. She had the time of her life.
I bet.
We were gone. Like we had the most wonderful family friends come in and help take care of her. My parents were so helpful. And I love that she's able to like adapt to different caregivers and like still feel really comfortable. And like, I'm so proud of her for that piece of it as well. So, but as hard as it is to leave her, which I thought the more I did it, the easier it would get. But to be honest, as she's gotten older, it's actually gotten harder because she really understands it now, right?
Yeah.
Like she's like, oh, you're getting on a plane. Where are you going? What are you doing? When are you going to be back? And like when you FaceTime her, she's like, are you coming home?
You're like, oh,
right? And you're just like, oh
not yet.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And it just like melts you. So I think there's always going to be this little bit of push and pull. So having that grace with myself of just knowing I'm doing the best that I can. I'm continuing to prioritize them and put them first while also getting to do opportunities that I love, that I'm passionate about, that are hopefully going to give my daughters better opportunities in the future as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that like you've voiced to me of a struggle, but I think so many women, even like down to like exercising or doing something for themselves, like it sounds like, and I'm sure I'll struggle with this, but it feels like it's this selfish thing when yet it's the opposite, right? It's like you're modeling that behavior in front of your child, which I mean, from like the age of 1, kids can pick that up and see like, wow, my mom is a badass. Wow, my mom works out, right? You know, and I can imagine it would feel like, no, I just need to like stay here and stay in front of them and be here the whole time. But I feel like I keep hearing this from you, from new moms, of like this tug. It's like this constant tug, and it's just at your heart, it's at your soul, and you're like, no, like, but you have to kind of force yourself to do it. Yeah. And whether you're a working mom and you want to do both, or whether you're a stay-at-home mom, I think regardless, it's still maintaining that, yes, I am this super mom, but I'm also doing things for myself, and that's going to then blend in. So I think I'm so passionate about hearing you talk about that and new moms talk about that, because I've seen people fall into the trap of like, no, the best way to be the best mom is just constantly be there for my baby. And it's like,
and that's another thing too, like about like full-time working moms, like that sometimes like that is what they need, like to be a better mom. Like their work is something they love. It gives them part of their identity. It gives like so much. So they're able to do that and come home and be the best mom to their child. And so that's why I say it just looks so different for everyone. And that tug, I think, is just going to happen regardless. Like I have yet to meet a mom that's like, oh yes, I have found the perfect balance.
Yeah, I don't think that does not exist.
No. And so kind of recognizing that we can work towards it, but this idea of perfect balance is like, what is that really? Yeah. You know, like it's going to change. And like, that's been something with this year. It's an Olympic year, and we've both really needed to capitalize that for our careers. And so, yes, that meant that this year I've had to work a lot more than I'm used to, but I'm so thankful for those opportunities. I got to include Caitlin where I could in that, and Hayes, which has been so special. And then next year, when this one comes in March, I'm going to be able to slow down again. Right. And kind of take that little bit of time off and step back. So I think it's just this understanding that life it just comes in seasons cycles, and phases, and giving yourself grace to kind of work through those and figure those out. But no matter if it's a combination, if you are stay at home and working like me, if you're just stay at home, if you're just working, like, just as you said, you're an incredible representation for your children, no matter what you're doing, because you're living out your values and you're showing them that that's what's most important.
Absolutely. How do you manage knowing what we know from therapy and knowing, you know what I'm going to ask you? Knowing that you pass along all of your patterns, good and bad, to your children. How do you manage that?
I know. I'm terrified. I'm so terrified. It's like a constant thing I bring up with my therapist. I'm like, my kid's going to be okay. And, I think there's a part of just accepting that too, that like, it's going to happen, right? Like, it's just, again, kind of the cycle of it. And there might be some of my anxieties that I passed down. There might be some of my insecurities, but I think through my journey, what I can encourage my girls to do is get into therapy.
They're like, you're 9, we're going.
Like, if they ever reach that point and knowing that I'm not perfect, I'm not going to be the perfect parent. Hayes and I are going to do the absolute best we can in the world to raise these girls. But it's life, right? And so I think just the greatest thing that I've learned is communication. And I think that that's a core of mine and Hayes' marriage and our relationship, and something that's going to be a core in our relationship to our daughters is this open line of communication. Like, we're going to want them to feel like they can come to us and talk about everything.
Yep.
But we also know that we're their parents and they may not want to come and talk to us about everything. So it's going to be really important for us to have other people in their lives that we know and trust that they can go and talk to.
Like cool Aunt Katie.
Like super, super cool Aunt Katie who's watching Caitlin for the first time next week all by yourself.
Wait, is that next? That's not next week.
2 weeks?
Okay.
2 weeks. Yeah.
I was like, I already screwed up. I am not here.
You're right. 2 weeks. So you're already on top of it.
I know.
She's so excited. I've told her
about it.
Oh, you told her.
She
can't wait.
Okay.
I told her Auntie Katie and Allie are coming over for a sleepover. She's so excited.
You're like, go easy on her because she doesn't know what she's doing.
Dance and sing, and you're going to be just fine.
Perfect. Oh, man. Is there anything in Kate's first 3 years that you look back on that and obviously every kid is different, I don't know. You haven't said the name of the child yet, have you?
We have not. No.
Okay. That was close. Is there anything your unnamed child that you will do differently than you did in your first 3 years with Kate, knowing what you know now?
Oh, it's a great question. To be honest, I think it's just going to be so different because of Caitlin. Yeah. I think with Kate, we've been really open that we struggled a ton with her sleep, like the first 6 to 7 months of her life. And so that, from a mental health perspective, was so hard on Hayes and I. It was still kind of COVID. Yeah. We didn't have a huge community where we were. And so we felt super alone. We felt super isolated. And I was holding this baby in a dark nursery for 5 hours a day, trying to get her to take naps and to sleep. So it just really slowly wore on me over time. And I think that's going to be the beautiful thing about Caitlin is she's going to be 3.5. She has a life. She has classes, she has school. We aren't going to be able to sit in a nursery and hold our new baby girl trying to get her to sleep because we'll need to make sure that Kate's life keeps going as well. Yeah. So I think both us and the new baby are going to have to learn to be more adaptable. And honestly, I think that is going to be so helpful for us and so beneficial of learning to just let go a little bit more, just go with the flow and understand that again, it may not be perfect. We may not adhere to a schedule the same way that we did with Caitlin, and that's fine. Yeah. This baby girl is still going to turn out just fine. But I'm I'm already so grateful for Caitlin because I think she's going to make postpartum, like, she just already brings so much joy into our life day to day. And I know getting to see her be a big sister is just going to be like the most incredible experience in the world. And so I know there's going to be tough days, but I think all of that being said, also, we have the best community we've ever had here in Nashville. So I feel so supported. I feel so loved. And I also know now how important it is to not only ask for help, but accept it.
Yes.
I think regardless, no matter where you are in your life, what you're doing, pregnancy or not, those two things are so important. I'm not sure, and I don't know what your thoughts are about this. I feel like there's a big hesitancy to ask for help and even to accept it. And I just wish that we could continue to break those barriers down because it makes people feel so good when you accept their offer of help.
Totally.
And I think just learning that, when people texted us after Caitlin and asked for a meal, if they could send us a meal, I'd always kind of have this moment where I'd be like, oh, like we could probably be okay. Like we could figure something out here. And now it's so funny. I'm like, oh, the second someone texts us, I'll be like, yep, here's our order.
Like queued up.
Like, thank you so much. Like, you just saved us so much time and energy. But a lot of that has come from the past 3 years. A lot of our friends getting pregnant and being able to do those things for them and feeling their gratitude and seeing how much it made a difference and knowing that that's like exactly how we're going to feel as well. So I think just accepting the help that comes your way and then also asking for it when you need it. And I think that's something with this pregnancy too. It's been good practice because I've had to ask for a lot more help than I did again with Caitlin. And it's been good for me to have to do that.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. I feel like you have been more willing. Like if I'm like, no, like I got that. Are you kidding me? Like you're pregnant, like you accept it. And I can tell like there's this pause in you where you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then you do it. I'm like, yeah. Because it makes me feel like, okay, like I think it's also trusting that the other person is not going to offer it unless if it's,
truly
truly mean. Yeah. Obviously you're close, your circle, like I would not have offered to care for your child for the first time.
Yes.
If I didn't mean it. Right.
No, and so that's why I accepted it. Because I was like, I genuinely know that like, if this was something you were not comfortable with or you didn't want to do, you would have been like, how else can I help? Like, how can I help find someone?
Hope you find somebody. Fingers crossed.
But like, no, that's exactly it. And that's why I was so grateful. And I was like, yes, that would be incredible if you can do that. So I absolutely agree with you.
Well, I also think too, like, and this is not just a pregnancy thing. I think it's people, and I've battled this forever. I think you do too. People don't want to admit when something's wrong because it feels like you're being negative. Yeah. Like that's a big one for me.
That's huge. Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. And so you're like, well, I don't want to, put this on somebody else and maybe ruin their day. And obviously if you're, sitting there and you're like, bah, 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 you're being negative, but there's a way to do it where you're just like, no, like I'm struggling and here's where I'm at. And like, instead of putting on this front, it actually makes it worse because people are like, wait, like what's going on? How can I help? Like, and so I think that has to be a big one. You're already emotional. I can't even imagine the emotions that are pumping through you post baby. Like I already know when it's like that time of the month, like dear God, times 1,000. Sorry, Todd. But like, I think though, that's the lesson. It's just like, it's okay to be like, you and I do it all the time with just a day. Like, hey, I'm super dead today. Hey, I'm in a weird mood today. Hey, I may not be super laughy. It has nothing to do with, I just think that should be more okay, or women should give themselves the grace to be honest.
Yes. And we talk about it all the time, like holding space for both.
Yes.
And I think really when it comes to this topic, but just in life in general, like, and that's part of the reasons why I think there are those nerves about talking about like the difficulties of pregnancy or the difficulties of postpartum, because you don't want anyone to think that you are the least bit ungrateful for being able to carry a child or for having a healthy baby. Like, and so I think like there's always this little hesitancy of like, oh, like if I am honest about this is really hard and like I am struggling with this, but you can have both. Like
Totally.
you can be eternally grateful, madly head over heels in love with this little person that you've created and still have hard days. And
Yeah.
like that is okay. Like it is really hard. That's why like the saying it takes a village doesn't just come from nowhere. Like it literally takes a village. And I think the sooner that you can accept that village in and let them be a part of that journey, not only is it better for your baby, for your husband, it's better for you to just know that like you have that support, and you also have the people that already understand that. Like you don't need to tell them I'm so grateful, I'm so in love, but this, they're just like, no, just like tell me how it is, because I know how you feel. Like
it's a given.
Yes. So just tell me what you're experiencing right now in this moment.
Yes, 1000%. Well, we are almost moving into power play, but
I can't wait. What I came up with. Power play. I'm so excited.
But any advice for the spouse or friends of just like, we kind of talked about this, but just like what I can imagine it would be difficult for the spouse or the friends when the person's going through something tough, but the spouse is also going through something tough.
Absolutely.
What can they do?
Yeah. So I think kind of twofold. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but no one is a mind reader. So if you need something,
preach.
As hard as it is, let your partner, let your friends, let your community, let them know what you need, because they may not know.
Yeah.
And you may kind of think that they should because they are your partner or they are your best friend or they are, but sometimes they don't. Like there's so much going on. It's such a huge transition for everyone. So truly, like, again, just getting back to that root of communication. Like if you need something, don't be afraid to ask for it. Don't be afraid to vocalize it, because I think that is so crucial when it comes to not building up resentment.
Yes.
Which can happen so easily in those first weeks, months of postpartum with your partner. Like, and I think that was something that really helped Hayes and I, was instead of me kind of keeping it to myself, not asking for what I needed when I needed it, and then just that sort of like building on top of one another until I felt resentment, I was able to be like, hey, honey, can you take her for the night tonight so I can get some sleep? Can you do this during the day so I can go and get some fresh air? Like whatever that looks like. And honestly, that carries on. Like that's not postpartum. That's like relationships. Yes, just relationships in general, parents, not parents. Like I think that is so important. So like even now with this pregnancy, I've had to make sure that I'm doing that of like, it is a different pregnancy. So I need to be very open with Hayes of like, hey, do you think you and Kate could like go out and do an activity for a couple hours so I can just have like a few quiet minutes to myself at the house to either get chores done or just lay on the couch and just like be silent for a second. And so I think being vocal about that. But I think what's also really important, this is more advice for the person who's experiencing the pregnancy, but you said it, also validate what the other person is going through. Like, of course, it's so hard for you and you're going through so much and you have so many emotions, but validate your partner as well. Like, I think I tried really hard to do that with Caitlin, and I'll try to do it again with our second. It's just like, it's a lot on your partner as well. It's not the same. It's a different kind of a lot. But if you're lucky enough to have an unbelievably supportive partner who is there for you every single step of the way, they're working just as hard. Yeah. They're just as involved. They're trying to do as much as they possibly can to help you, to support the baby, also now to support a toddler, like so much. So I think asking for what you need, but also make sure you're asking your partner what they need too.
Yeah. Which I think is so easy to forget in the whirlwind, sleep deprivation, all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Power play.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right. So, what is one thing that surprised you in your first year of motherhood?
Oh, first year of motherhood. Oh, that's such a good question. The way that my confidence and self-trust grew with every hard thing that we got through. Like, I think that was as hard as the hard things were to go through. The first fever, the first ER trip, the first ear infection, like all of that stuff. Because I think that as a new parent is the scariest, is when your baby gets sick.
Oh, yeah.
Especially first time around, because you're just like, oh my gosh.
The internet's a scary place.
Yes. Like, what is happening? What do I do? And as Caitlin's gotten older, Hayes and I have just been able to remain so much more calm about it. And so I think that is giving me so much going into this pregnancy, to this child, of like, when the hard things come, because they will, just trying to have that as much of a sense of calm as you can, which is so much easier said than done, but also just relying on those past experiences of like, we have gotten through every hurdle, every hard moment that we've had up until this point. And if we keep working together and if we keep just being there, like we're going to just keep getting through them one at a time, no matter what comes.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. All right. What is one item that you didn't have for Kate, but you will definitely have for your unnamed child?
Unnamed child.
I'm like, don't read what I put down.
So to clarify, she does have a name. We've picked out a name for her, but I don't think Hayes and I have decided whether or not we're going to share the name before she's born. So
that's a good, not justification.
Explanation.
Clarification.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, that we didn't have. That's a great question. A 3-year-old babysitter.
Yeah. Fair.
No, Kate is she is genuinely so excited.
Did you tell her?
Oh yeah, she knows.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yep. So we told her, the reason we were waiting to tell her, which you know this, is because we knew she was going to tell everybody.
Yeah.
So we were like, we want to wait until like we tell the most of our people and until we like feel comfortable about it being out there, because we knew the second we told her, she was just going to go to every person she saw and be like, my mommy has a baby in her tummy.
What?
So no, she is so, we talk about it a lot. Again, trying like super open communication with her about like, how are you feeling about being a big sister? What are you excited about? What are you nervous about? Like all these things. But she's really just so excited. She can't wait to feed the baby, change the baby, and play with the baby.
So cute.
So I think that's going to be wonderful. But funnily enough, I think, with Caitlin, and I want to breastfeed with this one as well. I was so thankful that my breastfeeding journey with Caitlin was so wonderful. But they do put the fear of God in you about, this is a lot of information, about nipple confusion. So when you're breastfeeding, they don't want you to introduce a pacifier or a bottle too soon, because they don't want the baby to get confused.
I've heard this.
Yes. So we waited way too long to introduce a bottle, and she refused a bottle until she was 12 weeks old. And at that point I had like my first trip and she wasn't taking a bottle.
Oh my God, what'd you do?
Oh, it was terrifying. We ended up working with an infant feeding specialist who helped us took us through like a bottle boot camp and like safely had us go through how to teach Caitlin how to take a bottle. But so with that being said, I think this time around will be, and again, with Caitlin, she's going to want to feed the baby. So like, we're going to want to give her, but I think we're going to try and introduce pacifiers and bottles a lot sooner. I'm obviously still going to try and breastfeed, but I just feel a lot more confident that we're going to still be able to do both and be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's all the things you don't know.
I know.
So you're there. All right. What is one thing, or like the first thing, and maybe it's different for Kate and now, but that you'll do the second you have the baby? Like,
oh my gosh. This is so cliche, but truly I am dying for the moment when Caitlin gets to meet her baby sister for the first time. Like that is the moment that I'm just like, when Hayes and I are in the hospital and it's so cute. Like, this is how wonderful our community is. There's like a fight who is going to watch Caitlin when we go to the hospital already. Like,
oh my God.
Like, Aubrey is fighting my mother-in-law who's fighting my pit. Like, it's just like,
I actually don't know who I think the winner is going to be.
I know.
Be Aubrey.
I think it's going to be Aubrey, because I feel like I know my parents will want to be with us, and then I feel like my mother-in-law will want to be too, but we'll see what happens there. But whoever brings her in, just that moment of her like meeting her for the first time, I'm so excited. But normally it revolves around food. Yeah. Almost always revolves around food.
Like sushi,
it's like the post-labor meal.
Yeah.
So I think what I did after Caitlin was a massive bagel, cream cheese, smoked salmon, capers, like the whole works, and just devoured. That was an excellent choice. But Caitlin was born at 4 a.m. So that also kind of like worked. I think if this one comes, which like, babies just come at night. It's just when they,
yeah. I was like 3 a.m.
Yeah. But depending on when this one comes, I feel like if she is a midday, afternoon, evening, then I'm 100% going to go for the sushi platter.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That can be what you're in charge of.
I was already about to be like, I'm getting your order. I'm going to Sunda. I'm picking up a massive order, and I'm just going to walk in with the platter. not taking care of your child, just the sushi.
I will be so happy.
Perfect. Locked in. Locked.
Done. We're set.
Oh my gosh. That's all I have, because the other one that I was going to ask you was just, you already answered this, the mantra that applies to both swimming and motherhood.
Yeah.
Which actually I don't think you answered. You answered, like, you're getting through the pain, you answered. But like, what is it, mantra or sentence?
For both swimming and motherhood. That's a really good one. I think just, again, this idea of delayed gratification. And the fact that every season is going to bring new amazing things and new challenges.
Yep.
And that's just kind of the part of it. But I think I always thought that I was going to be a baby person. Like, I have loved babies. So I thought I was going to like thrive in the newborn stage.
Oh.
I did not thrive in the newborn stage. Again, I think it's going to be different this time around because I just have such a different perspective. But like Caitlin right now, I mean, this age, it just keeps getting better and better and better. And so that has just given me so much faith and hope too, of like, even in those, months, that first year where they can't really communicate, to be honest, you're not getting a whole lot back. Like, it eventually turns into a 3-year-old who gives you spontaneous hugs and kisses and tells you how much she loves you and that she loves your shoes and that she wants to borrow them. And like, just like the sweetest things. And it's just like, I can't believe that she is who she is already, and like her personality and how much I love it. So, it's 3 years, right? And we've got a lot more years to go.
Yeah.
So I think this idea of just Hayes and I like really putting in the work to make her feel loved, to teach her how to be polite and to have manners and respect her elders, and, just all the values that are important to us, knowing that we're going to keep hopefully continuing to see them as she gets older and grows up and finds more of who she is. So yeah, just putting in the work every day, knowing you may not see it right now, but you just have to trust that it's going to continue to pay off in the future.
Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're entering our final 3 questions that we ask all of our guests.
Oh my gosh, what? I had no idea.
What a curveball. Actually, before we go into it, I almost sent this to you this morning. What's so crazy about this episode? It popped up on my memories of, we really didn't know each other that well when I FaceTimed you and did my little TikTok prank.
Yep.
And you told me that you were pregnant with Kate.
Well, that's so funny about our story, Katie, is like, and this is why, like, one of so many reasons I believe in God. You have been a part of such pivotal moments in my life. Like, it is so random. Like, the fact that you were at our engagement.
Random.
Yeah. So random. And
to the point where I was like, why am I this a part of this?
And you literally took me out to dinner while Hayes was like preparing the proposal. You dropped me off at the spot, like, and then we're there for the celebration after, and we hadn't talked, like, we didn't know each other.
No business doing, like, I remember being like, she's probably like, why the hell is like, hey, cool, Katie, but like,
so like, you're part of that. You and Todd were at our wedding, and then you like, I don't know if I had talked to you since the wedding, and then you randomly FaceTime me for this prank, and I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm pregnant, and you're like, oh, great.
I almost posted this morning. I'm like, no, we're saving it, because like, yeah, like, I was just literally going through like all swimming people. I was like, Missy, that would be good. And you just like, it's so you, how you responded. Like, did I call you? Like,
everyone has to wait to see it.
I will go into it. I know, but it is so crazy that happened. And then you felt comfortable enough to be like, guess what? No one knows, but I'm pregnant. And I'm like, oh my God, congrats. I didn't even know that you were trying to do that. But like, yeah, I continue to be in your life.
Well, now you just have no choice.
Now it makes sense. But that is so funny, because it is so true. Here I am again.
Here
you don't really know me that well. God knew. He's like, we're not really friends with this girl.
Just wait. There's a greater plan here. You're going to be really happy she was here for this. You may have no idea why right now, but you will eventually be happy she's here.
So funny. And with that, final 3 questions. A moment or memory inside the sport of swimming that's brought you the most amount of joy.
Oh, Okay, I don't know if this counts. Can I do after my career, but still a moment within swimming?
I mean, this is our podcast, so yes, you can.
Accurate. Olympic trials this summer.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah.
getting into the pool with Hayes and Caitlin. Like, I know we talked about that a lot in our kind of post-trials episode, but, you know, just so much of, I talked a lot about, you know, it hasn't always been easy to stay in the sport. And there's definitely been moments where, you know, it kind of feels like Missy Franklin and who I am now. It's just so much has happened that, of course, they're the same person, but at the same time, like, it's still kind of weird living both lives.
Yep.
And so when I was able to kind of bring Missy Franklin, the swimmer, into Missy Johnson, the wife and mom, and like have that moment of merging where I got to share both of those things, get in the pool with Hayes and Caitlin, and just be like, it's been so worth it. Like, so worth it. I think that for me was just like, it just gave me so much encouragement and also so much motivation moving forward that I want to continue being super involved in the sport. I want to keep doing this. Like, it's just really important to me because it is something that gave me so much. And whatever our daughters end up doing one day, whether it's sport, whether it's theater, whether it's academics, like whatever it is that brings them joy and gives them passion, like, I just want them to feel inspired by this idea of like, you receive and you give, right? Like, to those things that have given so much to you, it's so important. And in my mind, like, one of the best ways to say thank you is to continue to give back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, then the next question will challenge you because that could also be the answer to this next question. So a moment or memory just inside of being a mom that's brought you the most amount of joy.
Oh my gosh.
So far.
You know what? It's so funny, Katie. It's the smallest moments. And I texted Hayes this morning because I just felt this on my heart. And I said, I'm so proud of the example of love that we are setting for our daughter. Because last night we were just in the kitchen and he was just holding me and just hugging me. And we looked over and Caitlin was just looking at us. And then she just slowly like put out her hand. And so we went over and like, she does that. Like, one of us will be hugging her and she'll hold her arm out for the other person to like come in. And it's just, I feel very proud of the example that we're setting for her of, this is what it looks like to be loved and to be appreciated. And this is what we want for you one day. And we want you to see this. Yeah. And it really feels like she's getting it and she's understanding it. So I think that for me has been the most powerful thing is I think we're doing a really good job of showing our daughter what it means to be loved.
I would agree.
Thank you.
Final question. Don't know what you're going to say.
I don't either, actually. For some reason, I wasn't expecting it.
Only done 43 episodes.
I have no idea.
Well, think on your feet.
Here we go.
So, what is a word, not a mantra, a word that inspires you or motivates you on the daily or encompasses who you want to be?
I'm debating between two, which is self-trust and grace. I'm trying to think of which one of those is going to be more important moving forward with this one. But I think it's going to be grace. And just having that grace for myself, having grace for Hayes, having grace for Caitlin, like as we all go through and navigate this new transition, just being really thoughtful with ourselves and each other and keeping our communication open and knowing that things are going to change and they're going to look different, but we are so blessed to be growing our family and are just praying every day for this wonderful little girl that is growing inside of us and the amazing addition that she is going to be to our family. And so I think just the grace to get through that transition on the really great days and the really hard days too.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. That was the one in my head. I was like, please pick grace.
You're welcome. Because
I
saw it.
Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so good at hiding my emotions on my face, so I don't know how you saw it, but no, I think that it's been really fun to see, like, we obviously met prior to you even having Kate, but I've gotten to know you with Kate and then seeing, how you've manage the emotion of finding out you're pregnant and then having to go to Paris. And then it's scary. There's, of course, I already know all the feelings. You're proud and you cannot wait. But that, I imagine, would be a little scary. And I feel like I've seen you navigate that, knowing you so well at this point. And I've seen you give yourself grace, and I've seen you struggle to give yourself grace. And so it's been really cool as your best friend to watch that unfold and kind of take wow, she's doing it, and knowing full well that I'm going to go through all of those things as well.
And that I will be by your side for all of that.
Yes. So I think that's just, grace is such a perfect word, and you should feel very proud about where you are, and
thank you.
Very proud about, being able to sit here and share everything you've shared with our listeners. And I mean, could you have even done that a couple years ago?
Yeah, probably not. And I just want to say thank you to the other moms. Whether I know you or whether I don't, I'm just so grateful for the vulnerability that I feel like we have within moms. And I feel like we've just really turned a corner of supporting one another. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that has given me so much strength to speak up about my own journey and what we've been going through, and the excitement and the it's just like you said, of course, there's a little part of me that's scared. I think for a while we didn't even know if we were going to have a second, because we were like, and I think I hear this a lot too, is like, how could you possibly love is there room, right? Like, we love Caitlin with more than our heart. And I just hear the most beautiful thing from moms that have multiples of your heart literally grows. It's not like it all of a sudden splits in two. It's like it literally doubles in size. It's just amazing what the love that you are capable of when it comes to your own children. And so I think the timing of it was just so beautiful. We finally got to a point, and we were in no rush. We didn't put any pressure on ourselves to get there. We were like, we could be totally content with this beautiful little girl. That's amazing. If this is what God's plan is for our life, for us to just have one, then we're so happy with that. But then we kind of start to feel the tug and heard the voice of we think there's more for you and for your family here if you'll just trust me.
Yep.
Just trust me. And so now to be experiencing this and seeing Caitlin's excitement, and then feeling that, and seeing that, pregnant again on the test, and having that true feeling of it was the same as Caitlin, utter joy. There was, in that moment, there was no fear. There was no, it was just true. I can't believe we get to do this again.
Yeah. Elation.
Yeah.
Well, Missy, thank you so much for joining us here at Unfiltered Waters. My other co-host is somewhere else, but I just truly, though, thank you for sharing everything you shared.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me a space to do this.
Yeah.
This has been so fun. And thank you to our listeners for allowing us to talk about something a little different. And I think it's really important for both of us, as we continue this journey with Unfiltered Waters, that you all continue to get to know us better and our journeys and what we're going through, because that's the whole goal. It's what we tell our guests every week, is we want you to feel like you're sitting down with your best friends for coffee and just having a chat for an hour. So as we continue to bring you wonderful guests and new episodes, we're also going to continue to be vulnerable ourselves and share what we're going through in our life, and just so grateful that you guys are along for the ride.
Yeah. Till next time.